Google is not concerned with competing with Facebook. They just wanted to facilitate, develop tools, and deliver the best stuff that empowers people. So while Facebook has developed billions of users who, from my perspective, have a lot of time to waste, tons of wasted time, and hate ads, Google has brought us ways to do it better, and that's why people love Google+. That's why if you're an advertiser, a traditional outbound marketer, you see Facebook as a vast field of opportunity for crafting commercials and ads. And if you're an educator, an inbound marketer, and an influencer, you recognize that you must be on Google+. So the visionaries among us who believe that we can be promoters, thought leaders, influencers, and have very little incentive to dominate Facebook. However, we are inevitably drawn and captured by the 190 million users, passionate users in Google+. So here we are. Google+ has failed in its attempt to challenge Facebook. Blah, 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 blah. It's never going to be anything like Facebook, and I'm glad. Facebook is a cross-section of the grand masses of internet fodder and the waves of water molecules in the ocean. I mean, it's superfluous, you know. On the other hand, Google Plus is devoted to that a tenth of that that's dedicated to better interaction, consistent engagement, and real relationship building. We live in a world that's constantly chanting engagement, authenticity, and influencing more and more. That's why I choose Google+. I don't care if they kill the brand, because Google sees value in what they've created. So it's investing time and energy into the different pieces. So if G+ fades away, who cares? The bottom line is I'm still going to be, and we are still going to be doing tomorrow what we are doing today, only better, more efficiently, and with people who matter. Well, if you don't see the benefits in this, you're probably watching the wrong show. Good morning, Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties. How you doing? And Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties, not only that, but Smarties everywhere. If it's morning, if it's midday, if it's evening, if it's nighttime, where you are, welcome. Thanks for joining us. And by the way, catching us live or Replay City, we appreciate you joining us. It's all valuable to me. So please say hi in the comment stream and tell us where you're from. And now we're going to tell you where we're from. And I'd like to introduce the people in the green room. And I'd like to start with Karen Chin. Karen V. Chin is a San Francisco marketing consultant and a social media specialist. Please say hi.
Hey, Roland. Hi, everyone. I'm excited today to talk about actually collections. So it's hopefully you guys will enjoy it. And the weather actually today is actually quite warm. So I'm really excited by that.
Cool. And I'm really glad that I got a precursor of what she's going to give us today, and I'm just like really excited about it. Next, I'd like to introduce Molly Youngblood Geiger, hailing from Jacksonville, Florida. It's our Google lady. Please say hi.
Hey, Roland. Thanks so much for having me on the show today. I guess I am located in Jacksonville today, though I'm actually in Douglas, Georgia. I'm on a quick day trip to visit my mother and father, but I couldn't stand to miss an episode of the show, so I am very excited to talk about collections and talk about Google Photos.
Right on. Okay. Also, we have with us today Terry Lee Britton, coming to us from Elizabeth City, North Carolina, a jack of all trades, master of many.
That's right, and I'm going to show off today how I'm a master of good listening. That's primarily what I'm going to do.
So, well, there's magic to that, so yeah, me too. And
okay.
So thank you very much, Terry, and all three of you, and welcome to the herd here. And we've got a lot of people. I can't cover everybody. They're streaming in right now, and a lot of people. So hi, and thank you for joining us. And please mention where you're from in there. I know where most of you are from, but some of your other peers and the people checking in beside you may not. So share that publicly, and then we'll continue on. My niece is out there today. I've got family in the audience. So anyway, here we are in the green room with the people, and I want to say that today we're going to focus on aspects of Google+, and to present the first one that we've been talking about for most of the week now, collections. I'd like to turn this over to Karen and let her get started because we really don't have time for me to waste. So let's go ahead and go. Karen, thank you.
Hi, let's talk about collections. I actually have a presentation to go over, and it's quite, I won't say extensive, but it may look extensive to you. At the end, there will be a handout later on, so don't worry. We're going to go through the slides. You'll get a copy, so just be aware of that. So let me share my screen, and we'll start the journey of collections. Okay. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So collections, what are they? Why businesses should use them? I actually was a beta tester for collections toward the end of it, and I actually was testing for myself, more for my profile, not for businesses. But the aspect is that you can, what I'm going to show you is that you can use collections for both your business and your profile. So again, what is collections? It was basically launched in the beginning of May, and it's for both Google Plus profiles and pages. If you have never ever started a collection, this is pretty much what you're going to see here when you actually click on the drop-down menu, and you'll see collections, and you'll start kind of the process. Currently, it's only used for Android and web. It's not available for Apple, which I'm really disappointed because I'm a big Apple user, and I can only do this on my desktop.
But as I understand it, it is coming.
It's coming.
They're developing it, and will be coming soon. Yeah,
it's just not available at this moment. And also, just in general, what collections are, it's based on a topic, just to kind of keep in mind, and it's either a topic or theme. You narrow down to a specific area. You can basically, when you create that collection, you can group your posts together, your links, your videos, albums, photos, and even also you can add collections within the collection. You can do that. So the idea is, when you think about it, is kind of think of Google Plus Collections as a Pinterest board. And if you're familiar with that aspect, you'll get the hang of it really quite easily. So why is Google Collections important for businesses? It's basically an idea when you think about a Pinterest board, the idea is that you can basically showcase your products or services. I mean, where else as an artist or a photographer, or and then we have Matt Pentecost, sometimes he listens. He is out there in Sacramento, California, and he actually works as a tile cleaner. And the idea would be for collections for him, I can see, is he could basically showcase examples of his work. As he's writing his posts in Google+, he could also include that in his collection, sir. And the idea with that is, when you actually are able to show collections, if you can find those like-minded people who are interested, for example, tile cleaning, it could actually maybe help you increase your followers. It could also increase your engagement too. And eventually, because of Google and Google search and indexing, it's going to eventually increase your authority, and I know that they're working on that. You just know the signs in terms of the Google algorithms, is that if the collections get really, really popular, it's going to show up on search. And
could I interject something here? I had someone come to me yesterday. I was briefly talking about collections, and he said to me, well, collections are just another way of using hashtags. I mean, basically it does the same thing. And I thought, man, how short-sighted can you be that people cannot join or follow a hashtag so much as a collection of something, and that's a totally different thing. When you consider a collection, it's almost like joining a club or something versus using hashtag, which is totally impersonal and just immaterial as far as the individual. But collections represents a completely different thing, and I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, I mean, also too, when you kind of think about it, if you own a restaurant, for example, another great idea for a collection is basically the ability to show your weekly lunch special or your dinner special. With a photograph and a post, you could talk about that, and then as you're accumulating them, week after week, if people find that your followers find that interesting, that could actually build again on your followers because they can go back. I know for myself, when I started creating collections, I actually went back and used it as an archiving tool in terms of because I write on particular topics, and I'm finding that people are finding that particular post. It could be two months ago, 3 months ago, and what they're doing is that they're either +1ing, commenting, or sharing, and then they kind of go and look at your entire collection because that's how I can tell that they're kind of going way, way back. So the idea with that, if you have this collection, and again with Google Plus, you have your own unique URL. I mean, it's a really great idea when you think about it as a marketing tool, that you can showcase again your portfolio of services or products. It's all there in one easy area that that the individual can find, and you don't have to necessarily be a Google Plus user. I mean, because it's a unique URL, you don't have to have access to Google Plus to actually see the collection. So I'm going to now take you through kind of step by step in terms of how to create a Google Plus collection. So for many of you who haven't started the process yet, this is kind of the initial collection, or the very first time that you set up a collection, and then there's a different method once you start that, when you go from collection 2 and beyond. But we'll just start off with this. So when you create your initial collection, the easiest way to do is basically pull from the drop-down menu. So when you see the home and your profile, there should be a collections tab there now, and you click on that vertical tab, and then you click on the word collections. Then it will take you to the next screen, or it's going to be then collections, and again it gives you some information about how to create them. And so then you click that button, so you create a collections button. And then from there, you've got some choices on how to actually create that collection. So you have a name, tagline optional, and I'm finding actually, I was working with John Kotal yesterday, and he is out there in Minnesota, and he doesn't actually have the tagline option yet, but I do. So I think this is one of those things that's going to be rolling out eventually to everyone. So the idea here is you have your name, so it's a title. So try to be as descriptive as possible when you create that name. And I have down as Friday Lunch Special. Tagline, again, a description of that name, selling the idea, so that when you have the title, it itself should be pretty self-explanatory, so that the person who's reading it will go, okay, I know what that is, I'm interested in. And then that tagline eventually, when you do get it, is another area where you can again promote what this collection is about. Then you have visibility. So you've got basically 4 options. You've got public, your circles, only you, and custom. Public is basically, when you choose that, it's going to basically go out to the public and also to your followers who are currently following you the day you create the collection. Your circle, if you choose that option, is basically everyone in your circles. Only you is actually a really cool option when you think about it. It's private, and so you could use collections similar to kind of like, if I know some people create a private community where then they kind of throw in their posts and links and things like that. You could do the same thing with only you. And custom is a combination where you can actually have a circle, and this actually works really well. For example, if you decide to want to add or subtract people, because once you actually create the collection, the visibility, you can only access or create it once, and you can't go back and change, from public to private. So you have to really kind of think about what that option is going to be for you.
Well, could I interject? I don't know how perfect the time this is to put this in. But Debbie had a couple of really good questions, and I kind of ventured a couple of answers to her in the stream. Let's see if I even got them right. The first question is, would you want to promote your collections?
Oh, most definitely. I think when you first have to kind of start off, I think, and get yourself going, and make sure everything is looking just right. But once you get that collection, I think it makes perfect sense to promote it because you do have that unique URL.
Right. Okay. And then also she asks, should it be different than what you've posted? And I had basically answered it's a duplication. Potentially a duplication of what you posted, or you could actually comment on a post and put a whole new fresh post in regarding your content. So you could do either one.
Yeah, I mean, what I do actually now, we're kind of going a little bit further, is once you create the collection, you can actually post in that collection, or you can have it public. But the idea, I think, is that when you create that collection and you put it within, you're able to see it. You can also share it. Also, again, that post elsewhere. I mean, kind of think of collections as a board where you're able to share to others afterwards too. Any more questions?
No, that's good. That covers it for now.
Okay. So you basically create it with your name, the description, so Friday lunch special, and you have now the ability, as this is popped up, Google will basically pre-populate a photo for you. So they picked wheat. I didn't pick this, and you can actually go from there. If you want to go back and customize this, here's your opportunity to do this, where there's kind of 3 buttons here that you can't really see, but I'll just kind of go over them with you. Is customize, share, which is the share arrow, and the cogwheel. So customize, basically, it means is that you could pick, there's some stock photos here from Google, but if you want to, which I think it makes perfect sense for branding purposes for your business, is to have the ability to add or add your photo. So what you would click on this link, and then that would take you to basically to your desktops, that the same experience that you normally do when you upload photos on Google+. You have that option, and that you then are able to basically insert this photo. The photo here, if you want to customize, is 1080 pixels by 607 or 608. In this presentation at the end, I do have more information on where to get that information and the more details of it. So don't worry about that. And then you also have the option too of choosing colors here. So this here they picked blue for me, but if I wanted to, I could pick red, I could pick yellow, I could choose any of these colors here. The other option here is sharing. So you've already created your collections, and later on, if you want to go out and actually share this, that's this question I think Debbie was asking, is you could easily share your collection to others. And so very similar to to where you want to send, you click on the drop down here and you can add names, your circles. The only thing that you cannot do with collections is that you can't share, for example, two things, like you can't do public and communities at the same time. Like if you wanted to share it to the lunch community, for example, of G+, if exists, you can't do that. So there's some limitations of what you can't do, and also if you want to edit. So for example, you don't like Friday lunch special, you can go back and actually edit, clicking on the cogwheel here, and you can easily change or update the title of the collection, and you can also update the tagline once you have access to that. This button here that you see, it basically says that people that have you in circles automatically follow this collection. So you have this checked, or if you don't want to have that, you can uncheck that, and it just will, depending on what your visibility settings, it could go just to those individuals. So pretty much this is, go ahead.
Yeah, brief interjection, because Sheila Strover was saying, I have been using G Plus communities, public and private, for just this kind of a collection. And she asked, can you index with a collection like you can for a community?
No, you can't. I mean, it's just basically private, and it shows pretty much your collection of just all your items. There hasn't had the capability yet for indexing, but you never know with Google. That could be something coming up in the future.
Okay.
So you don't have what Sheila Strovers is mentioning is that you don't have those tabs where you have like events and about and whatever you want to describe and have categories. It doesn't have that capability at this moment.
Okay.
But with Google, you never know, right? This is only version 1.
Well, if they see the value, that'll probably be an easily innovative addition. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So here is, after you created your collection, you are now good to go. If you want to create collection number 2, like you see my examples here, you can either go back again, do the drop-down menu for collections, or the collections tab will now appear on your profile. So now you have 2 places where you can actually start creating that collection. Once you decide you want to create collection number 2, then you'll see it'll take you either when you click either place, you will then take you to the next page, which basically will create a collection. And from there, then you basically start that whole process again, as I talked about with the title and the tagline and what the visibility is, and you go through the same process again, and that's pretty much how you create a collection. Okay.
Okay.
So does anyone have questions, Roland, before I start with examples?
Most of them have been coming at us as we go, but so far we're handling everything that people were concerned with. But I'm just really impressed with the people who are just joining us. Sheila Strover, Lon McClure, Debbie Forand, Nancy Stubbs. We've got a lot of people who are even still coming in, but
great.
I appreciate that we had the 36 RSVPs, and a lot of those people are with us now. So
okay, great. So I'm going to show you some examples of current business pages. So just again, if you don't have a business and you're thinking about doing this for your profile, just scratch out the word business page and just say profile. So you kind of get the same idea here. So this one here is from one of our Roland Saturday Marketing Smarties audience members, John Kotal, and he has a really interesting page for his business. If no one, I don't know if everyone knows, but John is a big aviation geek. That's what he calls himself. And he actually has a whole business devoted to aviation. And one of his channels that he has is called Gazing Skyward TV. And he has a bunch of collections already created, but this one in particular I think people should be aware of, just because, not necessarily about aviation, but what he's actually doing, and that this could encourage and motivate you to start your collections today. So what he did, he kind of started the creating of the collection about like a week or 2 after the May 4th launch, and he had I think he was telling me maybe 600 followers at that time. And now he has Skyward TV now has 900 followers. So he's kind of increased, I think, about 300 followers. But the interesting thing that what collections can do is differently is that if you as an individual want to follow just this particular collection, you can do that now. So when you don't have to circle somebody and say, okay, I just want to only you get everything. Now you can actually kind of pick and choose what you actually want to see. And so what the interesting thing about this is that with collections is that he's actually has now over 1,600 followers following this particular collection. So his numbers are increasing just for this particular collection that he has created, and that he's building an audience, and that when you think about that, it's also kind of going back into that whole concept of building authority, because John does a really good job with in each and every one of his posts that he does. And so Day in Aviation is basically every day it's something historic that happens in aviation. And here's one example on June the 1st, that he has basically a description, a post, and he has a real clear call to action, so that if you really want to follow that collection and continue, he calls it out. He just tells you right then and there to basically, don't forget to +1 comment, share, and to also please follow me on my collection. So that going back to what Debbie was asking that question, here's a perfect example what that is. And if you go and look at his Gazing Skyward TV later, you can see every single page, every single post that he has really good engagement, and that it's not just people liking his photos, but he has really interesting comments that are going back and forth. And that what John was telling me was that when he first started with Google Plus, he was only kind of thinking of local being just the United States. And now, because of collections, it's kind of mushroomed now, where he's getting more and more of a global following on his post.
Right on. Very good.
Yeah, so it's kind of, when you think about it, he's gone from, his followers on his actual page is only 900, but for this collection, it's 1,600. So if you do the math there, that's 700 more followers that he's getting for this one particular collection, which is building again on that authority. And
okay,
you can
go ahead. People are making some comments, so I wanted to bring that to mind, that Sheila was talking about her collection, how she was making a collection of medical literature on any subject or on a subject, and her indexing was by year, publication, and so forth. And so along with this, build great collections rather than indexing, and I see that you could probably achieve the same result.
Yeah, I mean, I think what John's doing, he has a theme here, because it's narrow, and it's a day in aviation. So it's, every day he picks a plane, by that day throughout that. I think for Sheila, hers would maybe it's, I don't know, country or decade or something, where it can kind of be a little narrowed at this moment, because it doesn't have that indexing capability. And it's only a matter of time, I would think, that the indexing would happen.
Okay. Also, you could probably have. Let me hang on. Let me unpin my buddy here. Also, you can have sub-collections within the collections, and you can name those by dates and various things that would fairly well index them by year or by category or subcategories, whatever. So it sounds to me that it could be achieved a very similar way. So that would work either way.
And then the other thing I wanted to also show is I have following here, because I'm actually following John's collection. But if you weren't following, it would say follow, and you would click on this, and this is where, again, if this person didn't circle John overall for his Gazing Skyward TV and found this particular post, he would basically, if he just wanted to follow just this collection, he would click on the follow button, which would be here. And so this would kind of see how each of these posts now have this day in aviation history. So if the individual likes what he's reading or she's reading and says, I want to know more, clearly you can click on this, and it will basically take you to his entire collection.
Wow. Okay.
So think of that. I mean, think of the power of that.
Yeah, and I unfortunately am geared towards moving this conversation along in the discussion. We're going to run out of time on this segment, but I don't want you to miss Bill's example of his collection.
Yeah, I've actually picked some folks out there from the Saturday Marking Smarties audience. So everyone wants to make sure that they hear about what's going on with them, right? So we'll go on to the next one. I'll talk really quickly about this one. So this is my really good buddy. His name is Steve Bowen, and he's out there in Canada, and he is basically a web designer / SEO guy. And what he's doing is, again, his way is he's building authority is he is curating content and posting original content in his collection right here. So I just wanted to kind of show that you could do that. So you can create your own content, you can curate your own content, you can do a combination of the two. And here again, this also can build on your authority. And now our favorite, Bill Does Beliefs. So Bill, he has an interesting way of creating his collection. He is, if you're not familiar with Bill Graham, but Bill lives out in Belize. He's a former Canadian. I guess he's still a Canadian, but he's now living in Belize. And the idea is to use Google Plus as a way of helping others who want to come and live in Belize as expats, and also introduce Belize to others who want to come to Belize just in terms of travel. And so here is what he is doing is on his Bill Does Beliefs collection, he's basically listing his blogs, his blog posts, and that's where he's basically sharing his post here. There are other things. If you kind of go down and look further later on, you'll see he's got his own photography of Belize. He's got a little bit of how to do business in Belize and how to also get to Belize if you actually want to live there. So it's again a collection that is on a particular topic if you're interested in coming to Belize.
So what I like about all this, Karen, is so much of this is applicable to businesses and small businesses. Small or large businesses, they can all do this. And that's different from trying to train people to find your hashtag. I mean, it's actually a location, a URL, and a destination that people can get used to and go to, as something they're already conditioned to going to web pages and websites. So it's a very convenient thing thought-wise, and it's going to work for people. So that's very, very helpful. We are really running out of time for this segment, so I'm wondering if we can wrap up. If there's what are your final points you would want to wrap up? And I know that there's so much more to deliver, but we have to move on.
Yeah, I got a couple of tips and tricks. I'm not going to read every single one of them and go over them. You can look at later on in the presentation, but I think there's a couple that just to make sure that for people who are not familiar with collections, this is kind of what you need to make sure that you understand. So let me just quickly go over them. We talked about the first one, so we're not going to go with that. Again, we talked about the second. Don't need to go through that. The tagline, once I have access to it, I just start seeing it early this week, but not everyone has this capability yet. But when you do, please use that. I mean, it's great real estate to basically put your tagline or your motto of your business there.
So it's not available to everybody, but will be soon?
I think so, because I have it. I've seen others have it, but not everybody. We tested it with John out there in Minnesota. He doesn't have the capability. Canada doesn't have it yet, and Bill in Belize doesn't have it. But I do, so I know it's coming, and I've seen others who have it. So I think it's maybe, it's just, the Google gods of who gets it and who doesn't get it. But it's a slowly, I think it's rolling out. And so I also wanted to kind of show you where the custom collection cover photo size, if you decide to create your own. I got this information from Dustin Stout, and I also have his resource in my resources, the link to get that if you want more information of actually how to create that custom graphic. The other thing, just to let everyone know, is you can only create 50 individual collections. So you can only create 50. But you can follow as many people, as many collections as you want. You just only can create 50 at this moment. I also think that, again, back to that cover photographic and having it custom, is because it can, for your business, I mean, it's an extension of your brand. So why, I mean, again, free advertising, right? Free promotion, you can use that. You don't have to use the Google stock photos. This is what I really want to talk about, is once you actually create that collection and you want to go back and look at the posts that you've had in the past, and this is what I've done for archiving purposes for that particular collection, there are an area in your current post at this moment that you can do this. So there's two areas I want to make sure that people are aware of. There's the reshare, which is the reshare button right here that you normally see in your post, and then there is the move post to collection, which when you actually click on this little arrow down here, this pop-up will happen. The reshare means that if you share this into your collection, everybody is going to see it, but you don't necessarily get the the clock starts all over again, and you don't get if you have currently +1s or comments or shares, you don't necessarily see that. And the other thing is that if you reshare more than one or two, within a 5, 10, 20-minute time, it can look kind of spammy because it's all coming through your stream. So you don't necessarily want to do that. If you want to move large quantities, like more than 2, and you're doing it within a 5-minute period of time, I strongly recommend that you use the move post to collection, which then will take you to all of the different collections that you have, and it'll just like as if you're moving a piece of paper into a file, into a folder, into another folder in that filing cabinet. It does that where it doesn't alert your followers that you're doing this. So I just want to make sure that people are aware of that, about the two options that you have there.
Okay, we'll probably just have to read through the next two lists, and then we have to consolidate.
Yeah, so here's my resources, just to let everyone know. I also have my own collection if you want to see what I'm doing. I've got social media tips and Google tips and all kinds of great stuff there. And that's pretty much it.
All right, well, thank you, Karen. I appreciate that. That was a great presentation, and I know we rushed you. Could have dug in more, but we're going to move on. But before we do, Sheila Strover asked, can they be created from a page and profile, from both page and profile? And
Yes.
Heather has basically answered the question, yes, they can.
Yes.
And so it's a universal versatility and very handy in that respect. So anyway, that's the end of that. We have a lot of things that we could have covered, and we may even revisit this, but right now we're going to cover the other 2 points of photos and streams that we talked about with Google+. And photos is a really dynamic thing, and as I've sampled some of collections, I've sampled some of photos. So we're going to turn it over to Molly. Thank you very much, by the way, Karen. Really appreciate the presentation. And I'm going to turn it over to Molly at this time, and she's going to talk about photos and streams.
Sure, thanks, Roland, for the introduction. Just before I start on photos, I just quickly want to mention about collections that collections are very important for SEO because of the fact that they make use of keywords. So it is important to make sure when you're coming up with your collections to use a lot of relative keywords, hashtags, and maybe even if you are a restaurant, I know you are limited to 50 of the collections, but if you have a certain dish you're promoting, or if you have a discount, if you're a service-based company, you might consider promoting that one service to get that SEO factor. But going into photos, we all know about a few months back, everybody was kind of freaked out when Google Plus got rid of photos on Google Plus. And initially they took in, put it on Drive, and from there, in the recent Google event that happened last week, the I/O 2015, they announced that they have a brand new product called Google Photos. And so Google Photos is a little bit different than the way it was set up before, because now it's its own standalone product. And what's happening is it has a better ability of sorting photos than it did before, meaning instead of it just lumping them all in together like it did before, it's actually now sorting the photos. And one of the interesting things, I read an interview earlier this week on the Huffington Post where Google Photos is going to be a lot smarter than the way it was set up on Google Plus, in the sense that they're actually going to be giving the photos the ability to custom name and have emotional attachment to the photos, in the sense that there's another product called Google Stories. I'm not sure if people in the audience are familiar, but Google Stories are similar to collections. The main difference, though, is instead of with collections where you can go in and you custom build the collection, with Google Stories it actually pulls photos from, say, if you have an album. So it will actually go in and create automatically pictures, phrases, that type of thing. So in a sense, Google Photos is evolving, and it will actually in the future have the ability to where they will be able to emotionally recognize different type of emotions and different people, your friends, and then draw from those and put this into stories. And this could be huge for a business, because if you have specific albums, again, for a specific product or a specific service that you offer, you really can't take that story, because the story is similar to collections in the sense that it's a URL. So in theory, you could take that URL and post it everywhere. You could post it on Google+, Facebook, Twitter, any of the social media outlets where you could promote that. So I think one of the important things, though, is the fact that they are taking Google Photos up a step above and beyond to where it was before. So for me, I know I've been using Stories for, it's been out for over a year now, and I think it's a really great tool. What I really like about it, again, is that it's automatic.
I'm sorry, are you waiting for me?
No, I just, that's really all I had to share about that particular subject. Aside from the fact that it's a brand new product that they're using to optimize photos and photo albums for people and businesses.
Okay, so relative to photos, do we have any things that we can cover versus relative to the actual tools that are available in the photos section of what Google Plus is now?
Well, I mean, it's a standalone product now versus it being associated with Google Plus. So it's something that they're trying to migrate it into other tools, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if eventually they don't integrate it with collections, because collections uses photos. But more or less, it's something that they're working on, and it's why they announced it last week. I wouldn't say it's necessarily in beta, because it has a lot more functionality than it did before, but it's something that I think that a business, it's like the old saying goes, a picture speaks 1,000 words. So why not make use of that, promote your products and services with photos, especially if they're going to give you the ability to integrate it with collections or stories. It's an opportunity for everyone to make use of that tool.
Yeah, what I do know about what about the photos section is that their editing tools are amazing and quite easy to use. So what happens if someone has, and they're automatically loading their photos up into the Google Drive, and it's already, I mean, they've probably got photos in this section that they don't know about. Like if they're adding a photo to the post or whatever, it's being recorded in this set automatically. So if they go to their photos section and access that, they're just going to say, oh, wow, I didn't realize that this was recorded. Oh, look at all these memories. And they're going to go scanning through and see what they've done in the past through photos.
Exactly, and that's true for, say, your daughter's recital, and you're taking pictures, or your spouse is taking pictures, and before you know it, you have 200 or 300 pictures of this one event. You're like, what am I going to do with all these pictures? And so if you have Google Plus app installed on your smartphone, you do have the ability to configure it to where those photos automatically upload. One point I will make is you do get 16 gigabytes of space, which is huge. It's a lot of space for, I mean, literally thousands of photos, and this includes videos too. You know, if you have animated GIFs, if you have short videos that you've recorded, in my opinion, it might even be something good to use for testimonials. If you've got, say, if you're a storefront or brick and mortar, and you've got people in your restaurant or in your store, and they're really excited about whatever product or service you offer, it's an opportunity to just say, hey, would you mind if I just take, you know, a quick testimonial, and then have a testimonial section on your photos where people can access that. And there again, because it's shareable, you would be able to take that and share it pretty much anywhere. You can share it on your website, your blog, social media. For that matter, you could even put it in a collection.
Yeah, so things they're basically can be uploaded from almost any device that I can think of, except for iPhones at the moment, and iPads, I guess. Sorry, but I mean, as far as the general universe, they're going to add the iOS interface, and then that'll be added there. It's going to be universal, and people can, from whatever they're doing, from wherever they are, upload photos to their collections. So, I mean, sorry, their photo section, and when they're in the photo section, they have editing tools that I'm not sure people are aware of. And can you describe them basically to us?
Yeah, so a lot of us in the industry here, graphic designers, we actually have software that handles these photo editing. Google has actually included some of those photo editing options within Photos. So say you're taking just a general picture and somebody gets in the background or somebody's off to the side and you just kind of want to crop them out of the picture. So that would be one of the tools that you would be able to use, whereas before, Photos on Google Plus didn't have that ability. In addition to that, there is resizing. That's a big deal for graphic designers, is resizing pictures. I tell people all the time, you can always take a big picture and make it small, but if you try to take a small picture and make it big, it's going to do what we call pixelating it, which means it'll be very, very fuzzy. So it's kind of something that, in addition to that, you can go in and customize. Like if you have a group of photos that you want to put together. I know Google, they're automating this in the sense that if you, like I said, if you get to a certain event and you're taking, you know, a dozen or 20 pictures, it's going to automatically assume all of those pictures go into an album. So it's going to automatically categorize that for you. But if you say have two different people and you want to migrate those, you have the ability to import those pictures as well. So you can literally take all the pictures from that one event and put it into an album.
Cool. Well, I had a question from Richard Clarkson, which I think is legitimate at this point, and I think I know the answer. Why are the tools available on desktop like they are in mobile? In other words, Assistant, Creative, Movie, Collages, Animations.
Right. Well, I think the answer to that would be software. As I mentioned earlier, when I work on desktop, I actually have software that I had to go purchase to be able to do that. I don't have an official answer why they don't offer that, but that would be my assumption is they, you know, the software providers, they have to make money too. So, you know, from some form, if you're on mobile, great, you know, you've got those tools, but I know for myself, even when I'm on desktop or laptop, you know, I'm still using software.
Right. So I don't know if Terry's waving his hands in the air or if he's adjusting his equipment. I wanted to make sure because this is the least you've ever spoken in a Hangout yet. But anyway, yeah, I do know that there are some tools available that people do not know about in Google. I've talked about it a long time, and things to step out of what we're discussing here. You've got the Google Drive, you've got the Google Apps, you've got the Google Events facility in the Google Plus, and there are all these things that we don't know about, and we're just touching the surface. So we've picked 3 today, and photos, streams, and collections are going to be the things that make the biggest difference if you're a small business. So are there any other things that we should be concerned with that step in and around these three things?
Yeah, I think one thing to point out is to make use of all these tools, but integrate them, meaning, use one product with another product. And that's something that, the collections, they're saved to the cloud. Your photos are saved to the cloud. So I think it's really important to take all these tools that Google offers us for free and make use of them to promote our product or our services. I know, for example, I do a lot of posting on Google+. So in theory, if I'm posting regularly on Google+, well, I could take a link to a collection and I could share that on social media, or vice versa. If I have a specific album, I could share that everywhere on social media. I would even say above and beyond that, you could take and not only share on social media, but make sure and make use of video. And one thing I had a hangout earlier this week with Melanie Hall, and she, I'm sorry, not Melanie, it was Elaine Neighbording, and she was asking me about collections and, well, how as a Hangout provider can I use collection? And it actually is a really good tool if you've got a lot of videos. To use your videos, again, you can either use collections or you can use Google Photos to store them, but collect those videos and put them all in one spot and then take that one link and then promote it. So instead of individually promoting each video that you come up with, you could actually dump them all in one spot and then give people the opportunity to let them choose what videos that they want to watch.
Very good. And this particular comment from Bill Graham has not showed up in the comment tracker stream yet, but he says originally Photos was an Android app, and with the latest upgrade are now available for iOS. So that's all in the Photos section. So collections, not necessarily an iOS thing yet, but Photos is.
I think the reason for that is because they had already established Photos in Google+, so it's not something like brand totally new like collections. So I think that's one reason why that's the case. But where I see all these different products going is I see them all being integrated and working with one another. It's really up to a business owner, though, to know about these opportunities and to make best use of them.
I hear you, and the thing that shocks me is when people refer to Google Plus and they say Google Plus is dead or dying and making those claims like that. They are not users of these things, these tools, and they don't even know they exist because they're the part of the 90% that are over there in Facebook playing around. And I use the terms loosely, but I really feel like there's a different atmosphere in Facebook. We are not trying to duplicate it or use it the same way as we are. What is the word I'm looking for in Google Plus?
Yeah, I think what Google's original plan for Google Plus was to to be an umbrella, meaning kind of like how Google set up, where you've got all these different features and all these apps and all these tools, and I think that was their original intention, but it just didn't happen the way they thought. And so what I see them doing now is kind of taking a step back and going, okay, well, let's just make Google Plus social. Let's just be social on Google Plus and let it be that. And then take all of these features and take them out and put them under the Google umbrella versus the Google Plus umbrella. That's kind of where I see things going.
Exactly. And so the people who are arguing about Google Plus dissolving or anything, if they did dissolve, it would be no big deal because the tools remain. And that means that we can still use these tools to do what we're doing now. But I see them keeping Google Plus as a facilitator of these tools. So they're not going to completely remove the Google Plus platform. Well, they might integrate it or call it something different, but it's just changing the face.
What I would ask is, let's think about Facebook. Let's just take Facebook, for example. What kind of tools does Facebook offer? Do they have the collection set that Google or Google Plus has? No, they don't.
No.
They don't. I know they have the ads and that type of thing, but they pale in comparison to, say, Google AdWords. or analytics. Facebook doesn't have anything like analytics or photos or stories. They don't automatically go in and create stories for you or automatically keep your photos organized. It doesn't do any of that. Facebook is just that. It is a social media site. That's it. Versus
Right.
what Google Plus is doing. And, I kind of see why they're doing what they're doing with Google Plus because, okay, well, we're going to be a social site. Let's be a social site. Let's take all these apps and everything that we had originally associate with them and just put them back under the Google umbrella. So, I totally get it. Personally, I don't think Google Plus is ever going to go away. I think it's always going to be established. They're running neck and neck with all the other social networks. In fact, Google's actually talking about purchasing Twitter. So,
Holy smoke.
yeah, they've been rolling this around for a couple weeks now. Well, should we buy it? No, we shouldn't. Yeah, we should. And I'm like, I don't know. I can see why they would, but I don't think it's really in their best interest. I think if they just focus on Google Plus, and I see what they're doing by switching things over, and putting them back under the Google umbrella. But that's just my 2 cents.
Well, I am very supportive of your concept there too, and as I said in the very beginning, if the name Google Plus goes away, it's not going to change what we are doing. The platform is there, the organization is there, the facilitation is there, and we would be absolutely foolish not to make the best of it. So when people say, "Why are you in Google Plus?" Well, I can't explain it unless they want to narrow their thinking down to the focus 10% of why it's so damn important. Excuse me for, oh my gosh, using harsh language. But it's very important that people realize we are not trying to compete with Facebook. And I'm not trying to do in Google Plus what I think I should be doing in Facebook because I consider most of that a waste of time. And an intangible marketplace versus engagement, hands down, let's go with engagement. And before I move on, there's a statement by Nancy Stubbs then that she would like to know, and we've only got a couple minutes left, but maybe you can encapsulate this in a mouthful or two. But she's never heard of stories, and I know that many people have not. So
Really?
Sheila Strover posted a link to an article, but could you give us the 60-second rundown of what stories represents?
Yeah, so about a year ago, I actually went to a 4th of July barbecue, if you will. And I was taking pictures of my daughter. She's playing with the other kids and in her little car and, eating hot dogs and all that stuff. And, I know I've got my Google Plus app to, where it uploads. Well, the very next week, I get this email from Google saying, "Oh, we've created a story for you." I'm like, what the heck is this? I don't know what a story is. I have no idea. And so I clicked the link, and it took me to Google Stories, and they had taken one of the snapshots of her in her little car with her buddy and put it on the very front page, and they said, "A day in the life of Molly, July the 4th, 2014. I thought, oh, wow, this is pretty neat. And so it has a little arrow to where you can click next, and you click it, and it just randomly picks pictures from that album and puts it in there. But what I really like about it is if you're logged in, you can actually go and say, well, I like that picture, but I really like this other one better, so I'm going to switch it out. And then they have a little text box where you can go in and add a caption. And so this goes on for about, I think this particular one, it was 3 pages. So I think depending on the number of photos that you take, that's going to determine the length of the story. But you literally can go in and create whatever you want in terms of text or in terms of photos or in that matter videos. But what I found very interesting is Google did this story automatically. I had no idea they even had such a product. And when I found this, I was like, this would be really great for a business owner. Like, say if they had a special event or a promotion, or they're trying to maybe have a public promotion, for them to just get out there and start taking pictures and go into stories and create a story, because that story has a link, just like collections. And meaning you could post it on your email, your blog, your website, social media, and share your story with the world.
Oh, thank you very much. And I know I've been reading up on it myself, but I knew that you could explain it much better than I could. So, listen, folks, we are completely straight up out of time, and we've generated a lot of conversation. around these various concepts. And I appreciate your contributions all around. But first, I want to give 30 seconds to Terry in case he wants to say anything. You haven't said anything today, Guy.
Okay, well, in my 30 seconds left, I'd like to, well, first introduce my subject. Wait a minute, I don't have time for that. No, I think the collections thing definitely deserves a revisit. I came up with a bunch of questions that I knew we were pressed for time, and I didn't want to ask a bunch of questions. But definitely both subjects, getting deeper into the photos thing, the idea of using it for business, like as a slideshow or a business tour, a tour of your business as a series of photos, and especially if it's creating stories by some kind of timestamps that it can tell you took all the pictures nearby each other in time. And that's
I'm glad you brought that up because I had a few myself. I've been taking notes, and I think that this deserves a revisit, and we might do it very, very soon, like next week. So we'll talk about that and discuss whether or not we can follow up on some specific inserts that will enhance what we presented today, and I think it would be very worth it. So if you really like the subjects today, tell us in the comment stream so we can reinforce our decision to have another one of these and continue and expand it out. In the meantime, go ahead, Molly.
Actually, I'd be willing to actually share the original story that Google did for me as kind of a case study so people can see, hey, this is the original story that Molly did or I've received from Google, and just kind of go over the stories webpage. Google has an entire area dedicated to Google Stories, so just go to Google, type Google Stories, it'll take you right to where you need to be.
Good, thank you very much. And once again, back up and say congratulations to Karen for achieving a very nice presentation on collections. And we just did not have enough time to really elaborate, so I think that we're going to probably be revisiting this in the next week.
Is that presentation available to view later?
She's going to give it to everybody.
Oh, boy.
Which I think is pretty cool stuff.
In the description comment stream. Okay.
Yeah, so we'll let everybody know how they can obtain a copy of that. And that was pretty nice. Thank you very much for that. That's a gift today. Appreciate it, Karen.
Hey, I got one thing I wanted to say. It's not about collections, but I think for people who are interested, I found this out and I wanted to share this with you. And it's part of In My Collection. So let me just share you right quickly. It'll be just a second. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, just to let everyone know, I don't know if you guys are familiar or not, but if you're familiar with Chef Dennis, he is a Google celebrity chef and blogger. And he is actually having this 3rd annual virtual bloggers conference starting this coming Friday, June the 12th, and ending on Sunday, June 14th. And it's pretty much free, and you can watch the comforts of this conference from your own desktop, laptop, iPhone, Android, iPad, tablet, and it's a virtual conference. So all you need is a lot of coffee and some snacks, and you can easily watch 13 hours of a blogger conference. And a lot of the topics are, of course, how to set up your own blog. But if you're interested in WordPress and SEO and Nodex and a whole bunch of other things, a lot of the folks, if you're familiar here on the Plus with familiar faces like Wade Harmon and Mia Voss and I can't even think of the names, but there's just a ton of them. David Amberlin. You might want to check it out. It's actually, there's a conflict in terms of Roland's show next week, but if you can sign up in RSVP, you can always watch this on replay on either.
I will forgive everybody to default to the other show. I don't care.
So
watch me in replay. That's fine.
So I'll put the link in the comment thread for those who are interested, because I think it's a great event, because I'm definitely watching this next week. I know Bill Graham is too.
And I know, thank you, appreciate this. I also know that Ronnie Binzer is going to be doing something on the 14th about the future of Hangouts, I believe. And if I can find that link, I would like to post that in the comment stream too.
It's part of the show. It's part of this conference.
That's part of it. Okay, good enough.
I got the one link, so if you can easily sign up for everything.
Okay, sounds good. And ladies and gentlemen, we are 6 minutes over, and we've got to wrap it up. But thank you very much for attending, and thank you everyone in the green room for your contributions today. I really appreciate it. Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties is signing off. Thank you very much.